The Kevin Hart roast has turned into something much bigger than Netflix probably expected. At first, it was presented as a wild comedy event. Kevin Hart sits in the chair, famous comics take brutal shots, the room laughs, everybody understands the rules, and Netflix gets a big comedy moment, but the conversation did not stay there. The backlash started with Tony Hinchcliffe's George Floyd joke, Shane Gillis's lynching joke, and the jokes about Sheryl Underwood's late husband. Then Michael Chi questioned the writers. Chelsea Handler criticized Shane and Tony. Big J Okerson pushed back. Cheryl Underwood gave her own reaction. And now Godfrey has added another layer on In Godfrey We Trust by talking about Dr. Umar's reaction and revealing that he actually sent Umar's reaction to Cheryl.
We're going to talk about the roast. Who boy? Who boy?
What's your take? What is your?
I talked to Cheryl Underwood this morning.
Oh, nice.
I talked to her for about an hour.
I texted her afterwards. I told her she killed.
I talked to her for about an hour, and I sent her a video of Dr. Umar because Dr. Umar took notes on the whole thing and said his part.
Shane Gillis makes this joke, Art. He says, Cheryl's husband unalived himself. Obviously, black does crack because he jumped off a effing roof.
And Umar is going to be Umar.
What did he say? What was
he said? It was like a lynch. It's like to embarrass. It was like a humiliation ritual almost.
A lot of people are saying that.
That's like humiliation ritual, and to put to talk about, it was like it should have been a roast about Sheryl Underwood. It was barely about Kevin Hart. And it should have been for that black queen to be humiliated like that. Everybody was just going at her. And he said, we shouldn't have everybody should have stood up and walked out. I said, that's not going to happen. You can't do that. That doesn't happen. It's a roast. First of all, she was not forced to be in a roast. Nobody's forced to do anything in this business.
Right.
You don't have to do a movie if you don't want to. You can decide not to. A roast is a roast. The history of roasts is fucked up. But it's usually too. People who you know. Yeah. It's familial. It's like, that's my man. We're going to come.
It'd be like us roasting each other because we all know each other.
Yeah,
we're all friends.
It's that.
Dr. Umar's reaction comes from a totally different place than roast comedy. He's not looking at it like a comic asking whether the joke was structured well. He's looking at it through race, dignity, history, and public disrespect. So when he sees jokes about George Floyd, lynching, and Cheryl's husband, his instinct is not to defend the rules of a roast. His instinct is to ask why black pain keeps being turned into entertainment. That is where Godfrey is interesting. He understands comedy. He knows roasts are supposed to be brutal. But he also understands why black viewers may look at those jokes and feel like something ugly happened under the cover of comedy.
She told me, she's like, yo, I haven't been in the comedy circuit for a while. I've been on the talk. She's from Chicago too, so she started in stand-up, and she's been
bad motherfucker.
Yeah, she's been
like her last special was dope. Her last the last special before she was fire.
And she's been out of the loop. She's been out of the loop for a while. And she was like, okay, a roast. Tom Brady, The Rock, everyone's watching this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm part of it. And so it was almost like she said, they talked about my husband being, dead and committing suicide and, and she goes, it's been a long time. It's like I asked them, hey, what jokes are you saying? She goes, all right, it better be funny. She approved of some of this shit.
Yeah, they called her. They said that.
They go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. The only thing that I thought was corny was, here's the thing. If you're doing a roast of somebody, as a writer and as a comedian, if all you can talk about is the race, you're bad at your job. Yeah. Because you're supposed to talk about like the jokes about her husband and stuff like that. If she's okay with them, I thought they were funny because like that's specific to her. But all the jokes about, oh yeah, you so black or lynching this,
it was black,
blackity black. Look how dark skinned. It's like okay, but you guys can't write.
But you knew that was coming.
Absolutely.
But
Tony,
not at that level, bro.
So, if you hire Tony Hinchcliffe,
that's what you're going to get.
But also, he's bad at comedy.
I'll say this again. If you hire Tony Hinchcliffe, if you go, he's going to be like, "What's up, monkeys? Here's some bananas. Good night, Chinese. Ching chong."
Because he's racist
it
and
smells
bad at
like
comedy.
noodles here.
Yeah.
Goodbye. If you're Spanish, hey taco, you wetback. Good night. That's Tony Hinchcliffe.
Cheryl Underwood's own reaction has been more complicated than people expected. She did not come out screaming for everyone to be cancelled. She understands roast culture. She even said some jokes were written in a way that made her laugh. But she also later described some of the material as being in poor taste. That is the key part. Cheryl can understand the room and still question the judgment behind the jokes. That is what a lot of people miss. Laughing in the moment does not mean a joke was tasteful. Being a comedian does not mean you lose the right to say, "Hold on, that went somewhere strange." The Daily Beast story pushed the backlash further by reporting on a petition demanding Netflix and Kevin Hart donate proceeds from the roast to the Floyd Family Center for Social Equity. That changes the conversation from was the joke offensive to should Netflix and Kevin answer for profiting from it? That is a much bigger issue. Once a joke about George Floyd is part of a Netflix special, it is no longer just Tony on stage trying to shock a room. It becomes a clip. It becomes a headline. It becomes something the family may have to see. And if a corporation can make money from that moment, people are going to ask what responsibility comes with it. That is why Godfrey sending Dr. Umar's reaction to Cheryl is such an important detail. Umar represents the audience that never agreed to roast rules.
White dudes don't know nothing about black people.
Yeah, and they don't care to.
You don't care to. You have black people know about white people because you can't navigate the world without knowing white stuff. But white people can spend their whole life and not know anything about black people.
They have their basics on what black people are, and they go with that.
Then he's just, in my opinion, he shouldn't have been on the show.
No, that's not how it works.
He was the deal. He had a deal with Netflix.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Hold on. You're talking about numbers. You're talking about a business. It's 13.4 million right now. And it's Tony Hinchcliffe has a massive following. I'm just saying, you have The Rock, Tom Brady, everybody is big time on there. They're looking at this cash cow.
Yeah.
And Tony Hinchcliffe said there's a floating island called Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
This is what he does. That's why I'm like, Tony.
Floating garbage dump.
Tony Hinchcliffe saying that, I'm like, okay. That's I mean, it's not about, I'm not saying it's right, but read the fucking world. Read the room. It's Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah,
and everybody dog Tony Hinchcliffe. Gay, you gay. And he's like this. And he's like this. Tony's like,
getting the check.
My turn. Tony can take that. He goes, now I'm going to get you now. And
but the thing about it is the reason none of it is original. And he's just being racist. Like he's hiding behind humor that fact that it's a roast.
Yeah. But Don Rickles did the same thing to people.
Lisa Lampanelli.
Yeah,
at the Dean Martin roast, the first televised.
And my take is the same for all three of them niggas.
People are tired of being told the only choices are either laugh or hate comedy. There's a middle ground. You can believe in roast comedy and still think some jokes were lazy. You can defend the right to say something and still say the joke was ugly. You can laugh in the room and still feel weird about it later. That is why this roast keeps producing fallout. The jokes touched open wounds. For some comics, that is exactly what edgy comedy is supposed to do. For a lot of viewers, especially black viewers, the question is different. Who gets to keep poking the wound? Who gets paid for it? And who has to live with it after the laughter stops?